Hi, everybody, and welcome to the fourth COODIO Show. I hope you had some kind of a nice year's end, but, with Corona and everything, you can't really hope for much. So we are back. That's good. And we're hopefully all happy and, safe. But I hope you are safe too. And for today, we have a great show for you. We're coming back with audio in video games and talking about audio in general. It's going to be great. And without further ado, let's get this show on the road. I'm here with Nicolas Lemonnier, as I tried to rehearse that. And Samuel Dellacherie.
Absolutely.
So far, so good. Look at that. 2 for 2. I usually don't get that right. So, yeah, guys, you gentlemen are from the company MuseMind. And you guys have a very interesting take on helping people doing audio for video games. Let's start with introducing yourselves. Do this regularly. Start with you, Samuel.
Okay, thank you for attending to this show.
Yeah, no worries.
Yes, so I'm based in Normandy, and with my brother, we are both music fan and especially film scores fans.
Wow.
And we had an opportunity to test our knowledge and have some spare time to build MuseMind. And actually, we just began with very little information, both from the market, from the commercial possibilities, and the technical ability to do things. But we decided simply to get into the business and just try for ourselves with our being passionate with music, and that's the beginning of the story.
Passion is all you need. That sounds like a good answer here. Nicolas, your take on this?
Yes, thanks. So yes, I'm Nicolas Lemonnier. Actually, it was a very interesting adventure. We started, let's say, together with Samuel. So we have been working together on some, let's say, very deep tech previously. And Samuel came to me with this interesting, let's say, piece of music that he was able to create variation with. And everything started from there. He had the feeling that it could bring some added value to the video game industry. And then we went to meet these guys and ask them how they worked. And finally, it appears that yes, it's an interesting brick for them.
Sounds great. Guys, I must say, this show is interesting in a sense. What we're trying to do is always get some kind of a conflict there. That's what COODIO is about. We want to bridge the gap. We don't want people to fight out, That's not the kind of industry that we want to have, right? So in the last show, we talked to Morgan Dufour. Hope I'm saying it correct again. And he's a producer. So, and you guys are doing, let's not call it competition, but you guys are automating the process of producing music for video games. Did I get this correct? Can you guys specify a little bit more about that?
Well, it's yes and no.
You can take turns, by the way. So if you start,
sure.
Nicolas, you can add that.
Yes and no. In the reality is we are not creating anything. We are just manipulating existing audio at the wave recording stage. So it's a post-production solution. And we simply deconstruct, in a way, the music to reconstruct variations. But this is always under the supervision of the user, which can be the composer or the audio designer before integration in the video game. Actually, what we really propose is a way to speed up integration of music first, and also to enhance the amount of music that can be manipulated from a single source. If you look at procedural games, for instance, you should also need procedural music, but either you do it from purely AI basic, and you switch all the human interaction, and you get at the end really low quality music at the end anyway, or you try, as we do, just to bring some kind of enhanced automation to the users, to the actual flow, with the ability to go much quicker in integration, and if the user needs it, adding some other variations that always go around the same themes. So we are not, that's the reason I'm saying we're not creating music, we're just enhancing the capacity of the original music.
I'll ask, that's good answering, by the way, because I did some disservice to your concept in the beginning. I'll go with Nicolas. Do you have anything to add to that?
What I just want to add, and this is very important, because as you say, AI is sometimes, let's say, disturbing the markets, and can make people afraid of getting their job replaced. And this is not at all, let's say, what we want to bring. Let's say we want to bring AI as a solution to let's say, to enhance creativity and to remove some specific constraints. Typically, in the video games, composers have some constraints to respect when they compose music, which is not really, let's say, logical. Usually, when you want to create, you don't want to have some boundaries or let's say constraints. And with our solution, we can, let's say, avoid that and completely release the potential of human creativity. And this is what we want to bring. Let's say, in one way, as Samuel said, we have AI, fully automated AI, but without, let's say, the artistic value, let's say, the feeling that can be brought by the composer. And on the other end, we want to be used by the composers, used by the audio designers, to, let's say, to enhance the creativity of humans. So this is two approach totally different.
This sounds way more human than how I imagined it before talking to you. So this is already very good. So talking about human, you already said what brought you to audio. So I heard some interesting things. Scores of video of first of all, video games. I'm a giant video game fan, as people already know from the last show, but also film score. Something also
Absolutely.
Morgan talked about. This was your passion. You did something already that I might have watched. I don't know.
In the video area, you mean?
Video, let's say film scores or video games.
Well, this is very hot stuff because we're just working on it right now. What we are able to do is, it's really for prototyping, but we can shrink today any kind of music fully automatically to synchronize it on a piece of video. So for instance, you have a prototype advertisement and you need to try possibly hundreds of different kinds of music. So to select, this is a very tiresome and complex and long process for the editor.
Oh yeah,
and it's only prototyping, you see, and it's only prototyping. It's going to be thrown away, but anyway. So what we propose, it's about to be released, is a way to, you simply specify the timing, where you'd like an apex, and where it should begin, and we automatically, and just you pick the list of musics, and it automatically mount the music shrinken to the size, with trying to have the nicest possible evolution in the music, so that you get prototypes of mounted music on your video that is already giving some nice feeling of the quality. That's the thing that we can do today.
That sounds great.
In the video market.
That sounds really good. Nicolas, you want to add something to that?
No, actually, yeah, we have a lot of possibilities outside of, let's say, outside of video games, as you mentioned. So
I can tell you that. Yeah.
It's also, yeah. I guess it's also it also will depend. First reaction, as you can guess, is people are a little bit reluctant. Then they try it. They try it for, let's say, for some prototyping use, and potentially we can also be, let's say, we can release also some tools that will help them to pilot the music adaptation. So we can just be again, let's say, a a brick, a tool for audio specialists to make their job easier. But we will not, let's say, we will not change the fact that they will still be necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I can tell you that I always have that problem when I'm editing the music for videos or something. That the song's never exactly the length that I need it.
Yeah, it's difficult. And actually, this is really some point that is really very interesting, because many people, when they think about audio and video, let's say video with audio, they always believe, let's say, the natural feeling is, okay, video is much more difficult to adjust. The reality is, in fact, completely different.
The reverse.
In fact, you can make
exactly.
some cuts, but if you make some cut with the music in a let's say in a random way, then the sound is awful.
Oh yeah.
I'm not I'm not an audio specialist like Samuel and Pierre could be. I'm the naive guy.
I wouldn't say that too, but I can tell you from your use case is spot on. I'll be your first customer, because I can tell you the audio, and I've said that many times, the audio is the emotion conveyor.
Yeah,
in many
absolutely.
cases, try to watch a movie without the audio. Well, but I can listen to a video without the video. I can listen to it with the audio. That's still a thing, but it's
Exactly.
not. It's even more than that. It's I always have that song that I need for a video, and then there is that point where there is a tone in the song that really conveys what I'm trying to convey, but it's not in the right length. It's not in the right length,
Exactly.
and the beat is not the same. And I'm gonna, what am I gonna do now? And then you need to kind of like do magic, whatever. But the point is that great use case. I'll be your first customer. But moving to maybe the terrible side of the business, let's talk a little bit about how your business went through the pandemic. This was, again, to contrast from the last conversation. If you're a producer, or if you're in the point of the creative side, it's been pretty much a bad time for everybody. And let's not forget everybody else, restaurants, fitness studios.
One piece of answer is that we've been working with the industry that did not suffer from the
I'm noticing that too.
pandemic, or at least not in the sense that we all have in mind. What we suffered a bit from is that in the game industry, they had so much additional work that they didn't have much time to spend on new technologies and innovations, so that we certainly lost a bit of time, but it's only time. Okay. On the other side is more on the financial financing of a startup. We saw reduction, again, a loss of time in the capacity of financing to make decisions upon startups, whatever the market is. So, and this, we don't know yet if it's going to stay like that, or if there is going to be some kind of growing up back in financing startups. But otherwise, fortunately for us, we did not suffer that much.
Well, it's good to hear. Nicolas?
Yeah, I would say we were, let's say, quite lucky in this situation. And one thing very important, when you start an entrepreneur life, you have to be ready to fight with many difficulties, and to be
fierce.
focused. So yes, of course, we can say it was easy. It was more difficult. We do like to meet in person people, to meet in person the teams. It's important, but well, we have to overcome that. But this being said, we can say that we were, let's say, targeting industries that were not too much affected, and even so, by example, advertising industry is affected by this.
Definitely, we see that in radio too.
But they also need, some efficient way to be very quick, to find some solutions that make their life easier. So, in fact, our solution is like some, let's say, many digital solution. Okay, has not suffered so much, and we are quite lucky. We can work, we can continue to let's say, to have discussion with people. We are very eager to meet again people we we used to meet, but a part of that, yes, it's progressing well.
Well, that makes sense. I agree with you guys, by the way, completely, because in that sense, I notice, and I'm always waiting for the next titles. There's just some like video game titles I like, or movies, you know. And oh, look at that, we have a fourth guest.
Fourth guest, sorry.
That's it. No, hey, bring him on. I like those kind of guests. Yeah, those are the favorites. So about titles, there are many titles I'm noticing in the video game industry that actually the pandemic did hurt. Well, if not revenue, but the work process.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of titles that I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for longer than I should have, which is, it's a thing. But this brings me to the next question that you kind of already answered it, but I want to not agree with you on one thing. So, for the sake of conflict, you said you're not coming to replace any producer, okay? The question would have been, are you a disruptor or are you a supporter of the industry? I would say, like to your answer before, you would say, I'm not disrupting the industry. I'm helping people create. I'm helping people do their job better. And I agree with what you said, but I think you are disrupting. Just as, let's say, from the show before, you would say, if I'm an editor and I'm hiring you or a producer, and then I would need theoretically to hire less editors, audio engineers maybe, to get the right track, to be in the right length with the right feel, then I needed to, because now instead of paying to another editor, I'm paying you. Wouldn't that be right? Maybe I'm wrong here.
No.
It's always a bias that can happen with any innovation, so that the producer accept to what it really depends on what the
use
game,
case.
The use case. What is actively seeked? Is it to reduce the amount of money that is spent, or is it to increase the quality of the result with the same amount of money? Okay?
That's true.
And this is not our decision, but what we believe is that as we will reduce the time spent to generate the same level of quality, people are going to spend more time on creativity and introduce much better quality audio on perhaps more kinds
That's a great answer.
of video games. Okay, so it's also a way to make possible for lower budgets to get access to a higher level of audio quality at the end.
No, that's good. No, Nick, you probably look at it the same.
Yeah, it's Samuel answered quite well. I would add that when we discussed with some people specialized also in let's say middleware, in audio middleware, they mentioned very clearly that there is an increase of need for music material. So as let's say as the years are going, we are getting more and more use of music, and the games are not limited as they were in the past. With you have a CD, you play the CD, and that now it's completely released, and it will be even more with the cloud gaming coming. So they need more music. They will have still the same process with the composer initially to start, but maybe they will have to innovate to add some new level to the games, to have some procedural music, and we just believe that it will not be humanly possible to do all that without some support. So this is just what we believe, in the games. But of course, as you say, it's disrupting. And this is, I guess, also something we were very, let's say, paying very, very much attention to. We and I speak really, me and Samuel, we are really going to see the professional and to understand how they worked. We were not specialists of their activity, and we really wanted to understand how they worked and to include as much as possible our solution in the workflow they had. So of course it will change a bit, but we believe for the best. But yeah,
No,
you can use an.
I get what you're saying, because it's a great answer, because I create content for a living. I started doing that without anybody helping me, and then I do have a lot of people helping me now, and still I find I have all that work to do, and the work always keeps piling up.
Yeah,
So I actually use more and more tools. So I'm like, it was a trick question, but I agree with you completely. And if I could hire you guys and what you're providing,
maybe we will find another question you will disagree. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll try. I'll try. But this is, who knows? You did say something that really kind of made me think. You said cloud gaming.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Let's say it was a hot topic with Stadia. Releasing. The Google. The Google. Let's call it. It's not an initiative, it's a product. It's a product, But Google was not the first. You had NVIDIA releasing cloud gaming. It has a lot of bugs. It still has a lot to work until it does, and maybe new technologies will allow the cloud gaming to be the same experience as normal gaming. But knowing that you are talking about this brings me to ask, what was because, from your website and from talking to you, we first talked about video games. So that means, there are other things that your product could have meant, but it does seem like you guys are set, not primarily, but focused also on video games. Why?
Mhm.
Why? Is it passion, or is it personal, or is it like business thinking? How do you guys see it?
I think it's a conjunction of factors. It's because as I said previously, we just created the company. We had no previous knowledge or in the markets, and we just began to try to open doors, to contact people. And the fact is that one of the first people that were interested in was in the video games.
Oh,
and
really?
Just to name it, it was Ubisoft.
Oh, wow.
And so that's the reason we just began to work in this area. The second thing is that we really thought that an important feature of our solution was the quality of the resulting music. And one of the most difficult people to convince are the professionals working specifically in audio. And we found that in the video games, there are quite some high-end professionals that are very difficult to convince and that are very keen on the quality of the audio results. And we wanted to confront them and to make sure that we were able to create the materials, musical material that would fit their needs and their acceptation. And so that's also the reason what we continued with them, believing that being able to satisfy the high end, we could always get down into the pyramid.
The smaller,
I would say. Yeah, it's much more difficult to grow level by level.
Oh, yeah,
to try
like
to
a video
enhance
game.
the quality. Yeah, yeah.
Nick, did
So-
you have a talk with these? Sorry to cut you, Samuel.
No,
I'll
it's
go
all right.
back to that. Nick, did you have the possibility to work with the producers?
You mean
With Ubisoft, when you were working together, you say it's hard. Samuel said, which I can believe very much. Yeah, hard to convince. I always, AI, supporting AI. It's not right to say that the AI is a producer, like you said. But when I produce stuff, I would also be very well, I don't know, can this do, But what was your experience?
This is what was really, really interesting working, let's say, or testing the market with Ubisoft. So just to answer also your point, yes, I mean we like video games and also we had the idea and the feeling that they were working very extensively on the music. We knew that they were using music and making a lot of adjustment and a lot of cut or this kind of operation. So we had the feeling that it could bring something.
Oh yeah, I can.
But yes,
please,
it's
continue.
also exciting, to what is very nice. I mean, being entrepreneur, a part of from the difficulty is also to work with people that are passionate. So of course, going and visiting and discussing with video game people was really exciting. but it was not so easy. And really, we needed to also find, because in any industry, in fact, you get some people that are, let's say, reluctant to innovation and some people that are open to it. So we had to find the right people, and we were very lucky to find, I mean, in the team of Montpellier, I guess we can say that, the lead, let's say, the lead player to bring us there. And also, I mean, getting all the people working in a video game. So means we got the audio designer, the audio director, and also the composer, which is not very easy to find in the video game in France, because composers are very often in North America because of royalty issues. Mm. So in that case, we got also the composer, and the composer opinion was very important to us, as we explained to you from early. So it was really, really enriching for us.
Hey, I can understand completely, and so we don't disagree here. But, so I would
too bad.
Too bad. But I mean, like, you know, I'll tell you one thing about that. I'm not the youngest anymore, but somehow I have a feeling you guys are a little bit older than I am. So you guys have maybe from video games perspective, you remember the late maybe 70s or the high time of video games in the 80s, where you had a track that just goes on and on. You know, and you had, you know, we all know that. We loved it. You know, what do you mean? We loved it. We were hooked on it. Went in your brain and it didn't come out. And, you know, with Wolfenstein and Doom after that. And you know, you had people who were crazy. You know, I listen to those tracks. People do covers for it. These are songs. I remember Command and Conquer, Red Alert, Westwood Studios don't exist anymore, but they had tracks that you listen again today. And when you're playing the game, you hear it again and again and again and again, and an endless track that I'm sure that whatever you're providing looks to me like a no-brainer. You know? Talking about the new stuff, like the latest Doom, the ones, you have composers who take the creative freedom to the limit, where you have not automatic, but dynamic music. Did you get to work with a dynamic? Because I know from what you're saying, what you're working on is automating sometimes repetition. Would it help also in a dynamic environment? Does the AI do that too?
Yeah, actually the technology enables dynamic changes. Because as I said, we were breaking the piece of music in very small chunks. And so we could always dynamically produce some rules to build the music as the game goes. But this is on a technology point of view. We haven't tried it yet or even discussed it yet with the video games industry. Well, one of the problem is that technically, then not technologically, technically it needs a lot of more work to make it available on a game, because you see that the whole process of bringing the music in the audio engine has to be built, and this is much more difficulties on the technical point of view. And so
that's a massive enterprise.
We go it step by step. We're still a very small company, and I really believe that we'll go to dynamic musics. But in the meantime, already building automatic playlists and playlist systems linked to Wise, for instance, the tools from Audiokinetic is a very interesting first step that does not disrupt the idea of building music in a video game company, and shows that it's a first way to show that it's possible to automate playlist generation to then statically be used in the music as interactive music. But there is already a lot of work to do in that area.
I'm sure, and I'm sure Nicolas, you're definitely know a bit more about the business side of that, because that's definitely asked for. Because the technical side seems very good. I'm just saying.
Business-wise, let's say that on this dimension, let's say we first targeted to convince convince the team, the audio designer team, that they could generate a very great sound offline. So this is what we are performing. We also are, let's say, in discussions with the players in the, let's say, audio engine area, and we do not pretend, to replace everyone in the industry. So we are more, planning to have some kind of partnership there. And if we can, after let's say convincing everyone that the first step is let's say this automation that we are delivering right now is accepted by everyone, let's say we can go one step further and also doing the right partnership to do dynamic music with let's say audio engine makers as of today, I guess.
No, that sounds good. That sounds very good. And the next thing, because you guys said, when you said the cloud gaming, I said, well, okay, you know the market. so I do you also have the same grip on the audio market, in the sense of, do you guys think, what would you say is, how would you describe the next 5 to 10 years in audio? I always ask this question. I always get different answers. Just asking.
Yes. First, I believe that music will still be in the hands of human beings for the future, and the reason is that it's a meaning, as you said. When you see a video or a video game, the feelings come from the audio. So music is really linked to human feelings, and even if AI could, let's say in 10 years, could be able to do some symphonic music with instruments that looks like being really done by human beings, it's not human beings. It's like playing chess. We could have believed that chess would have been stopped being played by human beings with the advent of Big Blue at that time. No, it was Deep Blue being able to beat the best players, and that's not the case, because people still want to struggle against other people. They want to hear musics or see art that have been created by other humans. People. Fortunately for us, we are very a tight social group as a human beings, and we want to continue to interact with human beings. And music is really so deep linked to the feelings of people that I really believe that it's going still to be produced by human beings. That's for the first thing, so that we envision that live human beings' creations will still be the mainstream. And but as Nicolas said, with procedural games, the question is how to build musics that fills the gaps, audio gaps in games that are automatically built as the user keeps playing. And that's where certainly there are a lot of work to be done to see how possibly going with the first ideas we're bringing as a company, how this can be extended to audio, so that we could, for instance, pick up different kinds of music, a playlist, produce the user, instead of bringing Spotify, listening to Spotify when he's playing, why couldn't the music they chose could themselves be synchronized into the game? This is with what we are developing. This is something that we can begin to think about, because we could synchronize any kind of music, pop music, whatever, and match them to the what is happening on the screen. And so that could be a possible evolution of the music.
Who roads possibilities there.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that, Nick, you, the technology is clear. Let's say it like that. It's made it very clear for the possibilities, from maybe a broader scope of the market, not necessarily your, corner of the market. Do you have any other ideas of how the market will look in 5 to 10 years? The audio market.
It's a complex question, but I would say, let's say,
give it your best shot.
I will. Actually, I do believe that human creativity will still remain at core. So this is one point, and technology will make it probably much more easier to identify some music. So there are a lot of technologies there that are not our, to better identify a music based on let's say some kind of emotion that you are looking for. So there are tens of thousands of music produced every day, probably, and I guess that the technology will improve that the potential of potentially some let's say some independent composers, some people that are coming and bringing their music and say finding their music by guided by the emotion you like to find.
Empowering.
That the technology can bring. Of course, additionally, we can help in this in a sense to once find the music to adapt it on the proper media. But on the music itself, I guess that's it will probably evolve, but still, I mean, human will be still key.
We're not going on yet until maybe until the AI and the robots take care of that. Maybe we will. But until that, one of the last questions I have for you is about a business model, which is also something I've discussed with Morgan last time. I understand that you do not have a tangible thing at the moment as a product or as something that you are actively selling. But if you were already in the process of conducting business, what is your consideration regarding a buying and selling or a service? What is your take on that? This is more of a market question, and this is where we will disagree. I can tell you that. Yeah. So let's start with Nick this time.
Yeah. So actually, things are a little bit more precise than it could have been some months ago. So in the video games, in fact, it's a real, say, product with its own interface and so on. So
so you're developing as a partnership. This is
no, I mean, yes, there is a partnership for the development itself, but I mean, we have all the IP of the product, and it remains ours. But clearly, it's I mean, it's not very. We are selling, let's say, as a service. I mean, it's a software as a service solution through a subscription. There is just a fee on the, let's say, the quantity of music that is performed. So the business model is quite clear, and we could let's say we could discuss it with several studios to see the acceptation. On the other side, we are more, let's say, on the API model, and there are several possibilities. It can be subscription, or it can be also pay for use. Let's say each time you're using it.
Okay, for smaller users in that sense, like would say, I want to pay X amount of money for that. Samuel, your take on that?
Well, yes, it's simply to say that what we want is to adapt to the existing business models. And so our preferred route is to be integrated in a front-end solution. So what we plan is to follow the business model of the integrator. And usually it's pay as a service, either a monthly fee or based on the amount of activity of the music processed or whatever. For video games, as it is also our first focus, in that case, we are building the whole solution with the graphical interface, uploading. People will upload their own audio, or we plan also to be linked to catalogs. Okay, so the user can pick whatever audio he wants and bring them into the video games, knowing that there is also the synchronization fees and so on. So this is something also to be taken into account. And in that case, it's, as Nicolas said, it's also a subscription fee that is based on the habits of the market. If you look at some other middlewares like Wise or Fmod, we have the same kind of business model.
Okay, no, that is clear. The market is going in that direction. That's exactly when we maybe have some kind of a stark disagreement, because that I did talk to the last time as a content creator myself. Okay, so the smaller you are, the less it makes sense. Let's maybe kind of like to be completely reliant on services. So a big studio has, like you're saying, you're not seeing this differently, has a great position to pay a lot of money, to save a lot of money on costs. You know, they want to produce a video game. It's going to cost them a lot of money to do the audio for this game, and then this makes sense. However, doesn't the small guy have also kind of a shot to get at this kind of a service and still be able to pay for it? Because if I have to pay the same amount or the same kind of a price model that a big studio does, I'm kind of in the middle. I either need to hire more people or I need to work harder, but still for the same amount of money. So you see, it's a rant about the market, as you said, that you're going this thing. Wouldn't you, let's say if you would switch places, would you say it's still the best practice from a human side? I'm just trying to contradict here for the sake of contradiction. What do you think about that?
You want me to pick the question?
So I would say is this kind of a business model sustainable in the long run, or is it just like making the bigger studios profit more? Like the small guy can't use this kind of a service, right? Like a smaller studio.
So regarding the video games, I mean, if we are speaking about video games,
yeah, small video games or content creation, whatever.
We plan, of course, to adapt. Just as Samuel said, actually, for middlewares, there are some price adaptation depending on the size of the studios. So this is something we can probably do. And our goal is to be able to be used not only by the biggest studio, but also by smallest, by independents. So clearly.
But there is a business sense where it's also interesting for you. I mean, it's not.
Yes, and sometimes you start by being a very small studio and you become some kind of new giant. So
that's true.
So no, we don't want this to be a breaking point to start something with us. So, but we have, and we would be delighted actually to get some discussions with some independents that would be eager to test it. Because we are in this approach to understand how they work, how we could support their development, and see what can be, let's say, how can be the market fit. So I would say rather for now we worked mainly with some big studios, but we would be happy to do the experience with some smaller ones if they are listening. They are more than welcome. Okay, and we can adjust something to be. Not prohibitive in terms of pricing for sure.
Sorry, please continue.
The second point I would just like to add is there is also a reason why we make some pay as you use. Let's say regarding the music that is treated, or let's say some adaptation or automatic adaptation, is that we are using also some server fee, and so this has a cost also. So for us, so. Of course, there are some links on that, but
it's your cost. And don't get me wrong, you have the right to put your price model. And to be honest, also, if I'm not mistaken, all AI audio treatment is enterprise. I don't know small companies who work with it's plugins. Even if it's plugins, they cost a lot of money, and it's usually it's not. I buy this AI because that AI stays on a server somewhere, and it has costs. And the service needs to pay it. So do you want to add to that, Samuel? So from my perspective, I understand you. I'm just saying.
Yes,
it's a
following
big
this last point is that the more users we have, the more infrastructure we need, and the more robust tools we need. And so in the very first phases of the development, obviously the product is not fully stable, or at least it needs a lot of added feature and so on. So before going to mainstream, we need to have all this robustness, and this takes time and also costs money. So it's always a difficulty to propose solutions to many more potential small customers because of this. Is that we could, if we go to small customers too quickly, we could be overwhelmed with problems, hundreds of problems, thousands
agree
of
with you about
problems,
that.
without having the manpower to solve them. So it's a step-by-step process. But as Nicolas said, we want to address the more public as possible, but be patient.
From let's say from one B2B company to another, I agree. I understand that from the working side.
Just one last thing is that it always seems that software is easy and costs nothing, because you can do with a single computer. You just simply have to type a few lines and it's working. Well, no, it's never working. It's always full of bugs, and especially when there is interactivity with a UX, graphical interface, it's a real pain.
I can understand that completely.
It takes a lot of time to having an easy to use graphical interface, especially when you're manipulating complex things behind. It takes a lot of work. And
definitely.
So we're in the process of doing it. So eventually you'll have an opportunity to try it.
Yeah, that I'd be happy for that. Don't get me wrong. And you're right. Yeah, I understand that. Working at David Systems, we're also an enterprise enterprise software company. I understand that completely. Yeah, if we were to deal with hundreds, thousands of small customers, it will be way too much for us to handle. So yeah, it was a trick question. But in that sense, two last small questions to you guys. We are in COODIO, and in COODIO, we always ask our participants, guys, how can COODIO support you? How do you imagine how COODIO can support you?
Well, first, having this kind of discussion that can be broadcasted is great, because it provides some.
That's what I'm here for. That's
some audience, and so possibility for the COODIO participants to be known outside of the very tight community. It's also a way to put people in communication, so that we have a way to discover others' specializations and try to, and it's a way to provoke things, okay, between participants of the COODIO organism. And more broadly, I'd say that it's a way to be more robust as a team of companies against, I would say, the market, or as it is. So to reinforce between participants being stronger and do some kind of combined proposals to potential markets.
That's a great, robust answer, and I'm happy to hear that. Of course, we're very happy to help everybody. Nicolas, Samuel said it so nicely. I'd just say probably.
Yeah, Samuel said it very, very well. But I mean, this is what we really liked in COODIO, and this is why we are in. This is try to bring also many human people, I mean, together with different, let's say, different experience, different also audio activities. But it can also make a kind of like just like a seed, some kind of ideas are growing out of these people let's say, discussing all together is some links. Obviously, the idea is also to bring us together physically, but it will come
difficult
someday.
now. And of course, please continue.
It's so good, to have this kind of interaction. We met a lot of people already thanks to COODIO, and this was really, really good. And we need that. I mean, we need to reinforce and to create some ecosystem. We are very, as a startup company, we are small and we are weak somehow. We are, let's say,
for the product you're talking about, you're pretty strong for me. I can tell you that.
But I mean, being together, being and creating some teams all around. I mean, we can be much stronger.
You're right about that. That's a strong line. Together we're stronger, and that is very right what you're saying. And I'd be happy to meet you guys in person, of course, with this terrible pandemic and everything. At least we have Zoom, I guess, or whatever. We're doing this now with some kind of a thing I hacked. But you're completely right, and I'll be happy to be in Montpellier. And when we're there, last question, what's your favorite beer? Because we have to bring something.
That's the most important question.
The most important solution. Benoit is right now.
Realize after an hour we are getting thirsty.
Yeah.
That's the right question.
The right question to ask. You're a craft beer enthusiast or like Benoit and company?
Yeah, I'm more keen on wine, but I also like a beer from time to time. By the way, I especially appreciate Weiss beer when I come to Germany. That's not simply to make it to make you happy. It's really when I was going to Germany, because unfortunately for the past months it was a bit more difficult. In a restaurant, if they don't have Weiss beer, I'm not.
Catastrophal.
That's a very, very important.
As I'm talking to you, I have a big case in the room behind that, a Weiss beer, and that's the best kind, and everything else is terrible. Everything else is terrible.
Keep some for us next time.
Oh yeah, definitely. When this is over, I'm coming to Montpellier with 2 boom boxes like that. Like we're gonna drink some nice one. Nicolas, please, you have to say now. Come on. I mean, Samuel has a great taste, but
Actually, I love beer. I like Weiss beer. This is not really original, but yes, I'm
okay.
Really happy with testing your big bottle.
I will.
But apart from that, it's really funny because I have I also like really Belgian beers.
I like them too. Look at that.
And let's take a special ad. I have a cousin who is brewer, in Normandy, and he's making a very great beer.
You guys are both from Normandy, right? That's
everything is great in Normandy, even beer.
Even beer. Well,
there are many micro breweries.
That is interesting, and that's when you guys are in Munich. If we're ever holding a conference again here, David, I will definitely bring you the Weiss beer boutique breweries, craft breweries from here. They're making some really interesting take on that. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be great.
Make that once in Munich. Yeah.
We bring some beers also.
From Normandy. Hey, I need to be there. I heard a lot about the place, and of course, a lot of history, a lot of interesting stuff. So I need to visit. I have my fiance. She's really French. In her, she drinks, of course, more wine. I drink more beer. It's a thing. It's a thing. But guys, great conversation. Great beer and great everything. Right. So I thank you very much for being a part. A lot of interesting stuff discussed. Great to have more voices contrasting a little bit of what we talked the last time. Mm-hmm. And I can only wish you to be healthy, and for also you guys at home to be healthy. And let's get this over with. Let's get this thing over with. Yeah. I don't want this anymore. Just be safe, be healthy. And we'll see you guys in the next COODIO show.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you guys. Ciao.
You. Be safe.
Goodbye.
Bye.